Hey. Hey, everybody. Good evening and welcome to Studio B as we're off for another nice excursion. I like doing this from home from time to time. And tonight's nice because I actually had a couple more minutes to spare than I thought. We had the T-ball game tonight. Of course, welcome aboard our Badlands audience. Love being on over there. And this is the only Thursday that gets interrupted by T-ball. But T-ball's almost over. It's almost over. Aurora did great, but in came the storm. Storm's coming, Annie. Better get home quick. In came the storm, and we got cut a half inning short. I think everybody was very, very relieved because it was absolute chaos tonight. There was no controlling anything. No controlling everything. Everybody had to go to the bathroom. Ridiculous. But that's humbled by T-ball. And here we are tonight. We're getting started at 7:30, but it's going to be great, though. In a couple of minutes, Rich Baris is going to be on with us. It's been months since we spoke to Rich, and there's plenty to catch up there. We also have a new Pope. It is Pope Leo the 14th, and we're going to be talking about him more so in the second half. I've got some articles to get to. I have some video for us to watch a little bit just to get a look on, just to hear him, gauge his energy, hear what people are saying. Of course, there's bad, there's neutral, there's good. There are people who are just hopeful. And Timothy Gordon's going to stop in on that too. I did get a comment from Leo Zagami, and I'll be reading that on air as well. I said, okay, well, no Chinese Pope and no African Pope. It's the first American Pope. Leo, comment, and he gave me one, so I'll read that to you later on. We won't, we'll probably bleed over past 9 o'clock a little bit. So I'm not going to restrain myself to or constrain myself to 9 o'clock. But still, I hope you're all having a good night tonight. And away we go for a little coziness. Is there anything else I wanted to say up front? Tomorrow's going to be a really great show with Jay Gulanello. Molly Rucker from Keto Brainz is going to stop by, and the subject matter is really rich. So I can't wait to do that. But other than that, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I think that's it. Keep it nice and snappy. Oh, one last thing. Remember, this month's Culture Club meeting is public, and we are doing Film Club this month on Monday, May 19th. It's the night before me, Lauren, and Aurora go away for our wedding anniversary extended weekend, Memorial Day, into New England. On that night, not only do we have Richard Gage, formerly of Architects and Engineers and 9/11 Truth, coming on for the 7 o'clock show, but afterwards, the 9 o'clock Culture Club meeting for Film Club, the third meeting of Film Club. We did Interstellar, we did Rear Window in April, and now in May, we are doing Christopher Nolan's The Prestige. I asked Jay Dyer if he'd come on and help me out with that one, because The Prestige is in Esoteric Hollywood Part 3 that he's publishing this year. He doesn't know if he's going to be, traveling cross country around the time, but he's going to let me know for sure. Either way, it's going to be public. So all of you guys, you have still some time, 11 days. You all have 11 days to watch and really absorb The Prestige. I'm going to be putting the official forum thread up on the forum on quitefrankly.tv pretty soon, so you can start putting your thoughts in there. But like we started doing with Rear Window, the thing I really want to listen for are your voicemails and your calls. I want people to call in about that. And listen, it's going to have to be voicemail if we're going to be doing open lines for a public culture club, because they're going to have to be top quality. I had a couple people get in touch with me and say, Frank, I got to say, I love open lines, but it's you never know what you're going to get. Last night, say, I know. Out of everything we were going to talk about, I didn't know that we were going to be so badly derailed by Methylene Blue because of a little fun clip I played. I thought there was so much rich topics out there, but open lines, you can't do away with it. I love it so much. It's a part of the show. It's exciting because you don't know what's coming through. And it's a lot like going out and eating oysters. It's just like eating oysters. Sometimes you're going to find a pearl, and other times you're going to get a bacterial infection. and you'll be laid up for a couple of days. And so I like, thankfully, over the course of the history of the show, it's net positive that we have collected a lot of pearls, and we'll continue to do that. But I'm going to put that out for the 19th. I hope that many of you take part in it. It's a great movie. There's a lot of depth to it. There's a lot of messages, a lot of morals, a lot of interesting, quirky Tesla-like history and stuff like that, ethics. It's good. So The Prestige, watch it by the 19th, and I'll let you know when the official thread has been published. All right. Other than that, I think I'll save everything else I had for tomorrow. That's what I will do. I'll save it for tomorrow because tonight we got Rich Baris showing up momentarily, and I want to just soak that up. So we will be right back. Enjoy yourselves and strap yourselves in.
Have you any idea how successful censorship is on TV? Don't know the answer? Successful, isn't it?
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's
You know, I've said for years now, at least 3 or 4 years now, that I wanted to rewatch House of Cards. I really should. At least the first two or three seasons. That was like riveting stuff. And I still listen to the theme song all the time. Makes you wonder. Well, that actually doesn't make you wonder. Everything is laid out on the table these days. And as what we were saying about the Pope before, I was talking about this with Adel and Zach. I'm taking it back also on Badlands earlier on this afternoon. And Adel asked me, what do you think about this? You think, why should I, as a non-Catholic, why should I care about this? Well, as groups of people who pay special attention to how world politics, geopolitics, and the merging of faith and technology and government and everything, full spectrum dominance of the world. You know, part of full spectrum dominance, a very integral part of full spectrum dominance of the world is how do you dominate the soul? And how do you get people's spirits? How do you galvanize that kind of that's a whole currency in itself, the human spirit. And there's something to be said about that. Well, there's one guy I know who is full of human spirit, and I haven't seen him in way too long. He's a busy guy, and boy, oh boy, he's always doing something interesting. Rich Baris, People's Pundit. How are you, my friend?
Living the dream, Frank. Living the dream.
Good.
Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late here. I'm trying to get the lighting together, and I think it looks better now. I had shadows though. It was driving me nuts.
Well, you look good. Everything looks fine. How's the spring been for you so far?
It's been good. You know, actually, I got to replace, the ups and downs of what is it, the 3 to 4 year mark on homes, on durable goods that are supposed to last 3 years or more and are not, by the way.
No.
But I was out doing the pool, broke. I got to buy another robot, Frank, But I was out doing it. It looks great. I can't wait until, we can all get in there and barbecue. We've been barbecuing already, but we really like that stuff. I don't know about you guys out there, but
I do.
We really like the pool and the barbecue and quality time. We would have been doing it already, but the pool heater, the vacuum switch on it went, probably from the snowstorm that we had this past season. But it's still looking fantastic, and I'm pretty happy with the work I'm doing.
Well, I'm happy. I'm happy for you. It sounds great. We're not there just yet. We're on the cusp. I think the rain is we're about to embark on 24 hours worth of rain starting right now, but everything is nice and rosy and sweet smelling. And I think all I have to do is go out and get a couple of a couple of cans of propane this weekend, and I should be good. I'll give the old grill a nice scrub down, and we'll be good to go. And that's it. I hated this winter. This winter was long and bitter, so it's good to be.
I agree with you. I mean, I really enjoyed the holidays, and I enjoyed the break that I got after the elections. It was a slow break. It wasn't a big break, but I haven't gotten a break in forever, Frank. So I wanted to. I'm ready for it too.
Good.
Usually, it's my daughter who's like, "Daddy, I'm done with the winter," and I like it. I like fall. I like winter, but I do feel like this one droned on a little bit. And I'm ready to get in the pool.
Yeah, well, it's
Get some
coming.
color.
Yeah,
Get some color, brother.
I don't have any. I don't have any room for a pool. I don't even have a backyard. It's just asphalt. But what I do have is
I remember those
asphalt.
days.
Yeah, that's it. That's all. If I have, as long as I have a driveway, I'm able to work out and just bake in the sun. And that's all I really care about. Every once in a while, I'm able to sneak off to the beach. But even that is just a Long Island Sound, so it's not even like we get the real waves. You just get all the you get all the backwash. Anyway, Rich, are you? I don't know. Are you guys Catholic? I don't because you're from up here.
Yeah, of course. I was certainly born into a Roman Catholic Italian family. I was baptized both Greek Orthodox and Roman Catholic, which was crazy story. My mother was the crazy story.
It sounds crazy.
But I was raised Roman Catholic. I went to CCD. Later in life, I don't think I ever have not believed. But later in life, I converted. I'm a Protestant now, so but I still have. You when you're a Catholic, folks, and you're raised into it, especially when it's such a huge part of your community, the way it is for Italians and others. I had Polish friends, and it was a huge part of their community. Um, it never goes away when you walk into a Catholic church and you feel like you're slightly at home. You go to a wedding, like we did, by the way, in New York up by you last summer and last August, and it felt like home, right? You go to a service for Easter, you still remember all the prayers, you still remember the songs, you still remember the interactions, right? So it never goes away. But I most assuredly am, in as I got older, a Protestant now, and I'm trying to be nice and easy, but part of why right here.
Yeah, I know. And so then, what do you just as an inhabitant of the planet and knowing what the Catholic Church and the Vatican has as influence over faith and also geography and everything else? What do you think about the election of Pope Leo the 14th?
I'm glad my grandmother is not alive to see this. She loved Pope John Paul II. Benedict himself came in an impossible time. I don't hold anything against his tenure. There was obviously the scandals of the church. He couldn't win. I mean, Frank, he couldn't win. If he went too hardcore with reforms, he would have ticked off a part of the the bishops that didn't want any of that. And then if he didn't do anything, which a lot of people accused him of, then he would have went down to somebody who covered for horrific behavior. So then we got Francis, and Francis was a Peronist. For people who don't know who that is, he's from Argentina. And I said, when Francis died, watch, he will pick this bishop who's from Chicago. And the reason is simple. He put a lot of faith and trust into this man, and he was grooming him. And what he did, which was smart, was use him in a very trusted position to make sure that the conservative bishops were basically over time removed or replaced, right? And it was really more just of a replacing as new openings happen, make sure our people get in. And that's what he has been doing for Francis. If you think this guy is a moderate, like the media has been claiming, I mean, he got glowing coverage for 3 days before this vote. What does that tell you? If you guys are avid followers of politics, there's the hit, there's the smear, and then there's the fluff. And this is what he got for 3 days. So everyone kind of knew this was coming by a couple of days ago. I don't think anyone was surprised that he was turned out to be the front runner.
I didn't.
And he was,
I was surprised.
were you?
Oh well,
Okay.
we were given.
Uh,
Well, I mean, it seems like the conclusions that are being drawn are mixed in all the same ways that they were for the other people who were said to be the front runners. We were given Chinese/Filipino a pick, a progressive African pick, and but the first time when I heard that we have an American Pope today, I said, "Whoa!" But again, the replay. Go ahead.
I'll tell you why I was not surprised, and people that I do know, they were not, even though they were hoping this wouldn't be the case. And I'm not trying to put on my tinfoil hat here. I think it's obvious, and I don't know how people don't see this. They picked finally an American, even though they passed on other American options in the past, recent past too, because those options, the viable options, were too conservative. This is a direct reaction to not just in America, but certainly it's the largest force. It is the home base for this rising national populist sentiment. It has been harnessed by groups like MAGA and people like Donald Trump, and he's an answer to that, because where is it threatened the most? Where does it threaten the Catholic Church the most? And the answer to that is in America with immigration. And it's sometimes people get uncomfortable and they don't want to talk about this. But the fact of the matter is, Catholics are losing Latino members of the church to Protestant ranks more and more every year. And they need more people to come in and fill their coffers and their baskets, the same way that Democrats need more Hispanics to come in illegally. They don't care, of course, in order to get votes in the future. So this is, how could I mean, I'm not trying to be so cynical here, but this is a direct attempt to get more people into Catholic churches, and also an attempt to get American Catholics who are who are different. And people should understand this. American Catholics are different than Catholics in Europe, than Catholics in Africa, everywhere. And it's certainly different than Catholics in Latin America. They don't agree with the posts that they're seeing from Pope Leo, okay? They're not agreeing with. They agreed with Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. The Catholic Church has got, especially I'm talking about, I don't even want to use the word immigration because that's not the correct word. This is human trafficking, that they are encouraging and exploiting and then acting as if they're the moral ones if you oppose it. If you think that you have a right to determine who does and does not enter your country, they, ironically, by the way, take the moral high ground, even though the realities of illegal immigration are horrific. And it doesn't matter if you think you got a big old heart, Frank, and you're giving them political asylum. That's all a load of crap. Illegal immigration is a front for a whole lot of other people's benefits and a whole lot of other much darker business activities, like the trafficking of women and children, the trafficking of drugs, the horrible ends, that, or I mean, you could look at it both ways, but yeah, let's flip it. The horrible means that are justifying their ends are ignored, and they're evil. I mean, it's just anyone who's worked in the Department of Homeland Security and is assigned to the task force that deals with missing migrants who were supposedly taken here under legal premises, they thought they were, and it was all just a scam. That will tell you, I mean, these stories never end well, and this is encouraged by Catholic Church institutions and people all over Latin America. And that's because they're not adding organically. They are not adding to their ranks. And America and the Trump movement and others like it, I mean, they're just one voice in this growing chorus of voices all around the world that want to take back their national sovereignty. And they want to rebuild, after an era of failed globalism, they want to rebuild the liberal nation state system. And the Catholic Church wants no part of it. They want to have, and they haven't for a long time. So, I mean, the days of John Paul are over, Frank. This guy, I keep hearing people say he's a moderate on abortion. He's conservative on, appointing women to positions in the church. Like, that's not conservative. All right. Jesus was like, Jesus was the first female civil rights activist in recorded history. Okay. That's not, I wouldn't even classify that as conservative. He has not. He's been, at best, agnostic on traditional marriage and whether or not the church should sanction non-traditional marriages. That is if you don't stand for something, then clearly you stand against it,
Well,
right? So it's all cute little dance he plays, but the fact of the matter is he's not for traditional marriage. Otherwise, he would speak up and say, I'm for traditional marriage, and the church shouldn't recognize it. Abortion, left wing. Mental health issues about all of this stuff, because that's what they are, mental health issues, left wing. I mean, if somebody like a Peronist, like Francis, trusted you to be their right-hand man to change the ranks of the Catholic bishop ranks, then you're not a moderate.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, it's one of those scenarios where you see, and that's why this is just so important, because like any other night that we talk about captured institutions versus the will of people, this is another one. I mean, this is in particular, this church has been chipped away at for good part of 1800 years. I mean, you just see how every Christian denomination is just fighting, and in many ways fighting losing battles against the rising tide of all this kind of social engineering. It's it's everywhere. And so again, this is a big moment for everybody to analyze a captured institution, much like the American government and everything else, and what's happening over there at the Vatican, as you so perfectly put together right now, is connected to what's happening in every kind of populist movement across the first world. And where do we go?
Everywhere.
I know, and it's an interesting political response. It really is. Let's switch over, because we're going to do a lot of that in the second half too. Let me switch over to just everybody was doing the Donald Trump 100-day review. And as you already said, this is, how do you respond to somebody who is now elected and you have to deal with them, and you're licking your wounds and you're trying to find a win anywhere? Well, you can respond with getting a pope versus a president. That's maybe one of them.
Sure.
But as far as your 100 days, you don't have to go too crazy, because I'm sure you've been doing it constantly. Likes, dislikes, and obviously whatever special insight you have gained in particular through your polling research over the last 100 days.
So there is, of course, a decline in Trump's approval rating from the last quarterly survey we did, Frank, which everybody is acting as if it's a surprise. Presidents have honeymoons. All honeymoons come to an end. This one inevitably needed to as well. But I think it's interesting. There are two things. One is we found a lot of stuff that we should be focused on, and instead I have to always stop and tell people the media doesn't have the authority or the credibility to come out and make statements like Donald Trump is in the biggest free fall for a first-term president in 80 years. According to who? According to the pollsters, who again could not poll this man, could not poll an election correctly. If a pollster cannot poll an election, they can't poll anything else. Who cares what YouGov finds? Who cares what Pew Research finds? Who cares what the New York Times finds? Cook Politico Report did this whole review after the 100 days. It's young people and Hispanics that he's fallen the most with. Cook Politico was wrong in every single battleground state and at the national level. They not once, and I came on your show to talk about this, but twice withheld polling results for more than a week. One time it was almost 2 weeks, so they could push a narrative. I mean, they are not credible, and they're not even the ones who have the authority to speak on this, right? The truth is, what we found Trump at was about even. He was slightly positive. It was approved +1. But there's a danger for these people, and that danger is that his favorability rating, which is insane to me. Think about this. For as long as you've been Frank, his favorability rating, so his image, outpaces his approval rating. So what does that tell you? people still like him, but they have some concern somewhere about the job he's doing, and that's what's driving his numbers down. Right? And it's clear because we did the economic confidence index. The concern is for what people are saying is going to happen because of the tariffs. Not even that they themselves are personally experiencing
Okay.
anything negative right now, because they're not. And we flat out asked them.
That's what I was going to ask. Is that
It's
just
panic.
okay? So
It's media.
it's so the media still has
The media.
they have an impact still
Yeah, they
in that way. Because I asked people on the air not too long ago. All right, how have you seen a fluctuation in gas in what people are saying? You know, either no change to moderate changes downward in grocery prices and stuff. So that's got to be just the media still has a grip on people's emotional barometer here.
And we know this. Eggs are down, gas is down, milk is down. We know all of this, actually. Eggs are actually down from when Donald Trump handed the presidency to Joe Biden. Ladies and gentlemen, the cost of eggs is actually down. Interestingly enough, when we ask people about, because the economic confidence index that we do is a voter-only index, which makes it different than like the consumer sentiment index, for instance. We asked about current business conditions, current employment conditions, and then we asked about the 6-month outlook for both of those. What do you think it's going to be like 6 months from now? And then the last one, which is part of also the outlook sub-index of this gauge, is about inflation and total family income and what people think they're going to have. Again, it fell from last quarter because last quarter, Frank, was the highest measurement we have ever taken in the history of the survey. And it was like, where else is this survey going to go? It's not going to go up again. It's going to go down. It was during the honeymoon phase, and there was a lot of optimism. But ironically, the only index that fell in any significant way where it looks like it's about to run off its average is the index about current business conditions. Because when you ask them whether they're experiencing higher prices, the answer is no. When you ask them if the employment market right now, the jobs market that they're in right now, not 6 months from now, right now, has experienced anything, because it's positive, neutral, or negative view. That's what we ask people to give us. It actually improved. The current the current employment conditions part of this index improved, which is insane to me. It tells me they're not seeing any of that in the job market. And then they still think, even though there is more concern, they still think that on all of those future 6-month outlook parts of that survey, they're all thinking that it's going to get better. So, Frank, what my point is if none of these fears come to, were warranted, and none of these negative consequences come to fruition, this is a huge vulnerability for his opposition, because there's going to come a time, the economy is one thing the media still certainly has an impact on, but there's going to come a time where they may even lose credibility with that. So they're telling us that the job market, even with all of these, panic-stricken headlines, and maybe people are making business decisions based on those headlines, they're still telling us it's way better than it was under Donald Trump. And one of the reasons why I think that is, we dug into this in the show, is that we're not the Conference Board's Consumer Sentiment Index or Consumer Confidence Index, or the University of Michigan's Thomson Reuters survey of consumers. We're not asking all adults. We're asking people who are in the voting eligible population, registered voters, VEP. If you look at who is getting jobs under Donald Trump, it's not foreign-born people. It's domestic citizens. So domestic-born, domestic citizens eligible to vote. So voters are, it's just always interesting, because voters are always way ahead of us on a lot of this stuff.
Yeah,
It's like they know when we don't.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's somebody in my position. I'm not in the job market. I'm self-employed. I'm doing what I do, but I am buying a lot of groceries, and I buy a lot of stuff that I can directly from farmers now. And I've been cultivating
Good
those
for you. Smart move.
Yeah, but you know what? Even before we had any kind of bird flu, avian flu headlines that led to the compulsory slaughtering of hundreds of millions of birds and all this other stuff, We were still paying more to make sure that we were getting eggs from farms that were not using soy or grain as feed or antibiotics, right? So we were already paying when everybody started freaking out about $8 a carton. We had already been paying $8.25 for years, and it sucked. But we knew what we needed, what we wanted. So what I wonder, because nothing's really changed for us so far. So what I wonder is when you take averages, I know that we're pulling from all 50 states and different regions. Are you able to see about where people are paying much less than $3 a gallon of gas, or well under $8 a carton per eggs again? Like in what regions? Because obviously the average is going to bring everything up, but where's the impact being felt first and foremost?
So what they claim is not even close. It's the West, and if you break that down more to census division instead of region, which we do, the West is made up of the mountain region and the mountain division, and the Pacific, which is the California, Washington, Oregon. That's it. It's the Pacific division. So my point is, it's a very liberal division. And then you also have some people in the Northeast, and most specifically when you break that up, the Northeast is made up of the Mid-Atlantic, New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, and then the New England area. All right. And the numbers are the worst in New England and in the Pacific Northwest. So these are the two most liberal areas in the country, Frank. What does that mean? I'm saying they're full of crap. I'm saying they answer these questions based on their political persuasions. Now, we know that the Pacific area does pay more for gas. We know that. California pays more for gas. So that part of this, I'll believe 100%. But again, that some of this is political because they're also the lowest on the economic outlook parts of these, surveys. So yeah, it's almost the same as by party. Something started to happen under the Obama administration, really during the Obama era, when you ask people economic questions, you basically were getting political answers. Yeah, what Richard Curtin over at the Survey of Consumers has written about it, or did. He's gone now, but he did write about it back then. Gallup saw it. We all saw it, which was this massive gulf between reality and partisanship. So you could know, because of course we do, that something like gas is falling, yet if there's a Democrat in office, Republicans are going to tell you that gas is actually rising, right? They're not as bad as Democrats. This is really being fueled by Democrats.
Gotcha.
It is. It's a phenomenon, but it's real. It's no coincidence that we know some of this stuff is just flatly untrue, but that's what they say when we ask them.
Okay. Well, I'll since this is
a delusion,
we're going to stay with economics just a little bit and go from domestic to international now. Now, the news of this trade deal with the UK started making around the internet today. But before that, I wanted to talk to you about just what you took off of this appearance of the newly elected Prime Minister from Canada, Mark Carney, in the White House. Because now, even I'm floored that when he won the election, let me get this up on the screen. Hold on.
I will keep my composure. It's just, God, I'll
hold on.
I'll wait.
Let me get you
I'll wait for you, brother.
Okay, now we're both on screen. So I'm even floored when he won the Canadian election that he made this shortly afterwards. One of the first things I saw from him, because I wasn't even following it, he made this WEF style statement about how everyone needs to reimagine the way that world economies, that every economic transaction has to be reimagined in order to attain this ridiculous and scary anti-human net zero idea, where we need to be carbon neutral, which means that you need to suppress human activity to the point where you're going to kill very many people just because of this stupid climate change shit. But anyway, then we get this. I looked at this guy. I said, now, I hope that the election in Canada was stolen, because Because Rich, it's not people who would choose somebody who talks of suicide like that, to choose somebody to volunteer to put that in office. I prayed that it was stolen because I didn't want to think that so many Canadians were that suicidal. But then he comes to the White House and we get this. Take a listen to this clip. I'm sure you've heard it before.
Mark, would you like to say a few words?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I'm on the edge of my seat, actually, for the big announcement. But thank you for your hospitality and above all for your leadership. You're a transformational president. The focus on the economy with a relentless focus on the American worker, securing your borders, ending the scourge of fentanyl and other opioids, and securing the world. And I've been elected with my colleagues here. With the help of my colleagues here, I'm going to spread the credit to transform Canada with a similar focus on the economy, securing our borders, again on fentanyl, much greater focus on defense and security, securing the Arctic and developing the Arctic. And the history of Canada and the U.S. is we're stronger when we work together, and there's many opportunities to work together. And I look forward to addressing some of those issues that we have, but also finding those areas of mutual cooperation. So
Okay, now, Rich, before you go off on it, I will just say it's obvious now. The response from Canadian liberals are, "What the fuck?" The response from everybody else on the other side who heard him speak about net zero and everything else just like about a week ago are like, "What the fuck?"
Mhm.
Who is this guy, and what is this whole display we're seeing?
This is exactly what I try to tell people when I tell them that you will hear all of Trudeau did it too. Emmanuel Macron did it in France. Uh, Governor Pritzker does it. Gavin Newsom does it. You have all of these like left-wing politicians, and particularly the ones who are in a position where they have to work with Donald Trump. They speak this big game because I've seen this and heard this myself. They talk this big game, and then they go and they kiss the ring, and they kiss man. He didn't just do that. This guy bent all the way over for Donald Trump. I mean, all the way. He said, "Bend over and touch your toes," and he grabbed his ankles and said, "Give it to me." I mean, this is
That's what it sounds like.
it is, because that's what happened here. He also went on to speak in a manner like this guy will even change his accent, which is incredible. But this is why I always laughed at people when like the opposition to Trump just doesn't get this yet. This is a show for you. Okay? This is a show for you. This guy just went on to praise Donald Trump's handling of the border, Frank. The border. This is a globalist, supposedly, who doesn't believe in borders. Okay, is a transform. And not only did he praise Trump's handling of the border, he basically said, "Mr. President, show me how to do it. Show me how to do what you did, because I got to do this in Canada." And we could go on and on about the rest of it. This is a guy who opposed everything that, and supposedly is in a party that does oppose everything that Trump stands for. But this is par for the course, is what I want everyone to understand. Gavin Newsom talked big game. He gets in front of Donald Trump and he kisses his ass. Trump actually keeps a lot of this. Is what's funny, and I'm not sure people know this, but it's hilarious. Donald Trump actually keeps communications from a lot of these people, because when they talk all big, bad, and tough, Frank, he can then, if he wants, go and make that stuff public. It's hilarious, some of the stuff that you'll read. They'll praise him up and down. But again, I think that it's also concerning, because I don't know which is more concerning. The very few people that I saw that were liberals that were like, "Master class, look how well he dealt with Donald Trump." That's another level of deluding yourself that few of us will ever come into contact with in our life. That's not what was going on here. Ass kissing was going on here. You got played, and you're trying to justify in your mind how you came to vote for this guy that you thought would be something very different, not only different than Trump in policy, but an active pain in Trump's, and you just can't admit to yourself that you got duped, you got played. So you're going to make up these excuses like he masterclass. Most serious people, of course, did not have that view. They were like, exactly what you said. What the fuck was that?
I know.
You know, what was that? What did I just see? Well, that's what they saw, Frank. You know it. I know it. Trump knows it. Trump had a blast. Look at his face. He's like,
See, this is nice.
Grovel.
I know.
Mitt Romney, by the way, one of the biggest grovelers I've ever seen. Mr. Big Tough Guy in front of the camera. Media, Pierre Delecto hiding behind, a fake Twitter account.
Oh, I forgot about that. Pierre Delecto.
You get him in front of Trump in real life, Frank. This guy's the biggest bitch you'll ever see. I mean, that's the thing.
Well,
these are betas, boy. These are betas.
What was it? One of the greatest pictures in the history of politics. Seriously, it's at least in the last 25 years, was the picture of Mitt Romney out to dinner with Donald Trump after the election was won, where he had this sheepish, ashamed, completely cornered face. He just looks
Secretary of State.
I know.
Please.
Terrible. It was all. But you know what? There's a couple of different topics here I want to combine now, because you brought up borders, you brought up all that, and then we're talking about just Donald Trump's his need on relying, at least right now, on executive orders and executive action, and the size and scope of the executive branch's influence. That's the thing that's really counterintuitive and it sucks.
It's a blob.
It sucks because until Congress shows that they're willing to be Americans, then you're telling a president the only way
Good luck. I mean, I'm serious. Good luck in all truth.
I know, because then the president is relegated to doing nothing but using the power that ultimately, if we are going to get back to anything that is liberty affirming, the power in the executive branch needs to be destroyed. You can't use this to free everything up. And I know he knows that, but at the same time, it's all he has right now because Congress is an absolute disaster. But here's what I got for you. There's executive orders going out there. I saw Tom Homan was asked the other day, why not arrest sanctuary city leaders? And he smirked and he said, wait until you see what's coming. And then I started thinking about, it brought me back to this thoughts about this executive order that Trump signed about providing more military overflow equipment to local law enforcement. And I'd like your opinion on this, because it had a lot of people formulating their own theories as to why we are going to continue to load up the police with military equipment when the primary thing with the police in this country is that they're lacking a clear mandate to just to enforce the law. I mean, there's restrictive rules of engagement. In many states, the inmates run the prisons. So, I mean, people rightfully point out that police were the main reason why the COVID lockdowns were a thing. So, giving them tanks, it doesn't seem like a very smart or necessary, unless there's something else that the Trump administration is preparing for that we don't know about. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think Trump is more for the local law enforcement in this country than he is for, obviously, federal law enforcement. Ultimately, they are the first line of defense against a tyrannical federal government. They are, or they're supposed to be, Frank. They're supposed to be. You haven't been doing that, without a doubt. But let's say Houston, was it Houston or no, Tucson? Tucson voted overwhelmingly a couple years ago not to be a sanctuary city. The liberals who get elected there ignore the will of the people. If you want to punish somebody who's doing that, who are you going to call on the FBI to enforce the law? Who are you going to call on?
Yeah.
You may have to force these, agencies, or maybe you have alliances with some of them, to hold their own accountable, because the federal government's too corrupt to ask them to do that. I was honestly shocked when the Wisconsin judge was taken into custody. I was. Now, that was maybe a better example of breaking federal law. She obstructed a federal case, so maybe that's a more clear-cut example, and it was harder for them to ignore such an order like that, Frank. But I always think that Trump, anyway. I mean, if you've ever followed him on the campaign trail, guys, he does love local law enforcement. He does, and he's always been so good with them. Yeah, he's just one of his his talents that I remember recognizing very early on when he was a candidate, even going back to the 2016 election. I remember how he sat with the firefighters and the police officers from Manchester and New Hampshire. He had a great respect for them, and he was that way in New York City too, by the way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that that is his preferred way of police using police power, period, in society. But we'll see.
Yeah.
You can't trust the federal agencies, and like you said, I just want to say this too before we move on to something else, because you really did say it. I'm with Steve Bannon on this. I mean, intellectually speaking, I just feel like Steve has a stronger intellectual argument. When they get into power again, if you let them, they're going to start rounding everybody up, not just presidents. They're going to round up everybody. So I don't know what the hell this idea is. We need to reform this. We need to reform that. This cannot be reformed. The executive branch cannot be reformed. It needs to be dismantled. I mean, not completely. And I understand Trump, it's his only way of wielding power. But Frank, believe me, the executive branch is so big. It's so big. There are so many people in it he doesn't even have control over. He should be dismantling these bureaus and these agencies immediately.
Rich, what it really is going to take, what it also could take, is just one state with the political will. And there are states out there I always talk about the quandary of places like Kentucky, where you have Kentucky or South Carolina, where you have an electorate that can send the next Patrick Henry to the Senate every 6 years, but they keep sending, the turkey gobbler men like Mitch McConnell out there. So, and I understand
turkey gobbler,
I understand how cabals form, and no matter what the electorate looks like, they are a business that limits your choices and squeezes out good quality candidates, and they just get their company men in there. I understand that. But if there was just one state that was able to get their financial shit in order to where they can start line item vetoing everything from the federal government that is not constitutional according to the 10th Amendment, if we can just get one state that cannot be held hostage by some kind of block grant or anything else, that is willing to stand firm and completely nullify the federal government, that would be so incredible. A president would be great. Anything. I'd love to see some kind of bureaucratic revolution going on there that it all dismantles. But on a state level, it can happen too. It's just that there's no political autonomy with the way that everybody's on the lam.
Well, you just said that. I mean, that's what it comes down. There's no political autonomy because they're all in the government tea.
Yeah.
And that includes red states. Anyone who's ever looked at or did an honest analysis of who takes the most from the federal government, red states take a ton from the federal government. They actually, if there's arguments to make, that we have some really good examples of some that don't, but overall, in totality, they do rely on basic core services, money that they are getting from the federal government, and more so than some of the bigger bluer states out there that may surprise you guys. It honestly may. So they really don't have the autonomy to do that. I mean, that's honestly the sad truth. And I saw Laura Ingraham on Fox News last week, or was it earlier this week? Sad as a state like Kentucky consistently vote for Donald Trump in these huge numbers, and it's always these Republican senators that are thwarting him at every step of the way. Trump has now twice won the state of North Carolina by a margin Tom Tillis has never been able to achieve when he ran twice for the Senate seat. And he won, but he barely won by the skin of his teeth. And he only won one of them, arguably, because Trump was on the ballot. Otherwise, he might have lost to Cal Cunningham. So that, I think, is very revealing, which is that in this effort to try to really reform and dismantle or nullify large parts of the federal government, some of the biggest obstacles in Trump's way are red state actors, whether they're senators, because the Republican Senate conference is totally corrupt. I have been trying to break this egg and tell people this for years. These are not good people, and they are one of his biggest hindrances. I just mentioned Tom Tillis before. Hilariously, this guy goes to Twitter, but they're good at acting, and they have the money, and they have the way to narrow down who can and can't run. I know a great guy who wants to run against Lindsey Graham. The problem is they have a way of deciding who does and who doesn't get to run a legitimate campaign. They have control like that in a way over our electoral process that makes it difficult to challenge somebody like that. But Tom Tillis, great example. This guy voted against what is arguably the difference between Trump and the rest of the Republican Party that enables him or permits him to win these Rust Belt, industrial Midwest states that other Republicans can't. He actually voted to try to strip Donald Trump of his ability to negotiate the deal like we heard he got from the UK today. Yet, his two-faced ass goes to Twitter and congratulates Donald Trump and pretends like this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Frank, he is the one who co-sponsored a bill trying to strip Trump of his power to do that. So I guess my larger point here, folks, is that the duplicitous character that is the Republican Party, and they're in charge of all of these red states, that won't do anything. They won't exercise their power at all in order to restrain or refrain from participating in the scam that is the federal government. They're not going to do anything. They're just as bad. I would argue that in many cases, somebody like a Mitch McConnell or others, or Tom Tillis, they're actually worse than Democrats, because Democrats aren't running around pretending like they support this program. You know what I mean? They're not running around pretending they support the MAGA agenda.
Yeah.
It's the Tom Tillises and the John Cornyn's and the Lindsey Grahams.
Oh, I know.
Trump better start thinking about his legacy, because it's going to be these very friends of his who strip it all away.
I'm with you. There's a lot of different types of emotions that left-wing politicians invoke in me when I watch them. I try not to hate anybody, but it's very hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard to keep the hate down, only because I know the impact that the half-brain, intentionally dumb, juvenile, platforms that they run on affect people around me and affect the way the way that I'm able to effectively communicate with people around me, because they become dumb as well. People around me are getting dumber. Okay. And
we are getting dumber. I really believe that.
By and large, it's so stupid. I mean, the brain rot that people talk about is real.
It's real.
And
It's real.
But when it comes to Republicans, man, that makes my skin crawl. Republicans make my skin crawl. But
Frank, they're doing it today. They're defending this Pope. They are always the first ones to defend, so-called influencers and lawmakers, and they're always the first ones to come out to when somebody like this Pope or another politician, he's like a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? They're always the ones to go after the people who try immediately to say this is a wolf in sheep's clothing. They always defend the people who then line them up against the wall. Yeah. These are the dumbest people on planet Earth. And a big part of that is because people are expecting certain people in society, electeds are certainly part of this, to defend them. Well, and they keep electing them, and they don't realize they're the wolf at the door too. Like it's like, it's frustrating after a while.
Some of the older ones are definitely the wolves, but I think for the most part, the Republican Party is the party of the gimp from Pulp Fiction. That spends its days in the patent leather suit.
Get the gimp
with the zip. Get the gimp. That's it. They take him out. Kind of like squirrels around a little bit. I can't stand them.
The ball in the mouth.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, but before I move on to some final questions that are coming from the audience that I think are pretty easy and light, is there anything happening right now that is of extreme importance that you think people are missing? If you could just put that into a nutshell, so we can, I don't have to keep it for too much longer. I hate taking up your time, especially when it gets so late.
You mean out of the polling or just events in general?
Just events in general. I mean, you're an observer of mankind, so.
Yeah, I do think the elections in Canada, which we didn't have a chance to talk about outside of just watching Carney clown himself, actually went very well. For if you are a supporter of I want to say MAGA, but it's really more than that. If you are a supporter of the liberal nation state, right? And I don't mean liberal in that sense for people who don't know what I mean, but if you are a supporter of the world order that has led to the greatest amount of human prosperity achieved and obtained in the history of civilization, it actually was a good thing. Some of these countries, Frank, they're gonna have to break, unless we subsidize them through it until we break. And Trump has always been serious, not about Canada. I mean, he was never going to say his real plan, but he's always been serious about Alberta, and he's always been serious about Greenland. He started to get into some of the weeds on both of these that, I think we need to listen carefully to what he's saying. But it's more than just the resources and the pathway. If there does turn out to be changing, caps, and there's a new waterway that opens up, and all of this talk we've heard from different people. But it's really, it comes down to more than that. It really does. If the globalist system is going to fail, then the United States not only has to stop subsidizing their ability to maintain the status quo, but also it's got to take what is beneficial to them. And they were never going to entertain the idea of an independence or secession any way, shape, or form if they would have done well with this election. All right. So if you're Trump, you wanted Carney to win. You want conservatives in Alberta to feel completely dejected, like the social contract does not work for them anymore, the way that a lot of Republicans felt just a few years ago. You want them to feel that and more, because they, unlike Republicans domestically, have no real way to change that status quo by like a governing act.
Right.
But Alberta does. Alberta, and it's actually rather easy. And by the way, Trump could fast track it. Of course, he could make it happen very quickly. That is big in my mind. I'm a numbers guy, and I think about the ability of the Trump coalition and the Trump movement to maintain representation when he's gone. And there are things that are already happening that will help do that if they make the right decisions. But, and I mean, as far as even just the census, the electoral college, all of that, it's going to become much more difficult for a Democrat to win in the future. You add another one to the electoral college count that they can't win, and oh boy, Frank, oh boy, so eventually Republicans themselves, the old guard that you were talking about, they're going to die out. They're going to be gone. All MAGA really has to do is stay afloat.
Tread water.
Stay present. Tread water. I mean, the guard is dying, quite literally dying, and that's it. And by the way, Canada, that's who saved Carney, was the boomers, and they're not going to be around forever, Frank. They're not. You know, I mean, people who voted for Bushism in 2004, the national security mom is not even a thing anymore.
You know
That's
what?
not a real thing.
In that respect too, I have heard this same exact analysis applied to what we are seeing with the Catholic Church and the prelates and the age of the cardinals and their worldview and just the generations that are moving on through, juxtaposed with how many tens of thousands of new, young, more traditional minded people are converting to Catholicism, and how, of course, Francis had to go full bore against traditional Latin Mass because more and more young people were demanding options for what came before Vatican II. So you're seeing in different places, and since it's all, this is all relevant with today's conversation, you're seeing that generational, that tradition I mean that transition, and it poses a lot of questions, and quite a few of them are kind of optimistic, if you ask me. So let me ask you real quick before we move on. First of all, I got a voicemail here from Kelly from Louisiana that I'm going to
That's
save.
cool, by the way, how you can do that on your show. That's cool.
I'm just
That's
you know what, it's best.
cool.
It's best now for a lot of things, but
I love it.
she got a voicemail here. In the voicemail, I could play it, but she's asking you to retell the UFO story. What I'm saying is you have to come back on to tell the UFO story.
I was just gonna say I mean, Kelly, right? You said
Yeah.
that's her name. Kelly, it's kind of a detailed, long story, and there's a lot to go with it.
Yeah.
It's like hard for me to just drop a small window into what happened on you without then going and explaining the significance of why I even do, in fact, think that that was a UFO. So there's just a lot of details about the story, and I don't mean UFO, UAP, whatever. I am saying that I don't think that that was built by human beings, and there are reasons why I believe that, and I can't just tell this story
No, I
without
know.
getting into the minutia of it. I got to come back on and tell it. But the
Which
short version is I came home from dinner with my family, driving down the road, and there was a giant craft in the sky.
yeah,
I mean,
it's something
stay
just
tuned
casually
for
the
the next
size of a
episode
city.
Quite Frankly, stay tuned for the next episode of Quite Frankly, where the People's Pundit retells the story.
Well, that's what I wanted to combine it with, because I know, when you talk about
Yeah.
something the size of a small city that is
Huge,
above,
Frank.
so
Huge.
my next question to go along with Kelly's, that this will all become a preview for the next time you come on, which I hope it's soon. Did you publish? You told us that, I think when we spoke a little bit after the inauguration, you said that sometime in March you would be publishing your near-death experiences, paranormal, supernatural polls. Did you do that yet?
Yeah.
You did?
I didn't, and here's why.
Oh.
Stay tuned. This was I needed to stay all very normal for this poll. All right, now that this poll is out, we can go back to that. I think I did share some stuff with people, but I did not give everybody the totality of what I was referring to in that episode. And that's because we made some big, for people who don't know, we've been on a lot of these other aggregates in the past. One we have not been on, which is it's a big deal, is Real Clear Politics. So we needed to just stay to the very average quarterly track. Look, you got to play the game. You know what I mean? You got to play the game for a little bit. So we were trying not to do some of the loaded stuff that we have done in the past, or even talk about, publish any of that. That's the way my industry works, guys. It is.
So when do you think we'll have it?
ND
Because that'd be great. That'd be great to combine it.
Yeah, I'm bored. So, hopefully sooner rather than later, because while this is fun, it is only quarterly that we have to do this survey. And now we are kind of backed up on some other stuff. But one of them, two of them, both are related to this topic. We do this every year, guys.
Okay.
Every year. So we ask about, what is it? It's 3 questions on the UFO stuff. The NDE stuff is more in depth because it just is. I mean, for obvious reasons. There's a lot more to ask. You can't just say, "Hey, did you have a near-death experience? Did you, or somebody have a near-death experience?" I mean, well, you could do that, but that's not really learning anything outside of the top line percentage of of Americans who may have done that. And also, it's a different sample population. So the target population for most of our surveys is not adults, it's voters, but for those studies, they're adults.
And you're also asking whether or not their experience was negative versus positive,
That's
right?
right. There's a lot that we ask, because people may not know this, but if you go to there's a database for NDEs. It's actually really neat. You can research this a lot. But when you're looking at all of these publications, you'll find that most of them showcase the positive stuff. Most of them showcase there's certain commonalities between them, and most of the time you're just going to get a handful of these stories where they can explain to you what those commonalities are. And look here, you can see it in this person's story, read their account. You can see it in this person's story, read their account. There are commonalities, which and the reason why we ask about them is because I feel like this strengthens the case for near-death experience. There are commonalities in positive experiences and in negative experiences. And there are also commonalities between the two because there seems to be a divergence of whether or not you're going to have. Everyone goes through the first few things similarly, and then there's a divergence on whether you
I
get
can't
a good,
wait.
a
I
good
can't
one,
wait
a
to.
positive or
I can't
negative.
wait to do this.
It's really it's uncomfortable to talk about, but the truth is, it's about half and half. So half have a negative and half have a positive. In some studies, which is not ours, in some studies actually they argue that it's more negative than positive. Not That's not what we found in the past. It's
Okay.
not, but you know.
Well, then I'm going to stay on top of you, and I'll because that'll be great to combine the two.
Yeah.
All
Needs
of you.
to be fresh, Frank. It
Yeah,
needs to be.
it's going to be good. Now I have, and on that, I have one final question from the audience. Now I had another one that came in from Dan out there, but he asked
That's all right.
he asked a question that you essentially answered as far as polling samples and approval ratings versus all that other stuff. But here's one last one. I think it goes in line with the last two questions. Simple yes or no answer. This one is from Chad. Listen up.
Hey, Rich. Quick question. Do you happen to be a Jesuit, Scottish Rite Freemason from Switzerland? You don't have to say yes or no. I don't want you to betray your oath. Just cough twice if you are.
This guy's hilarious. Oh man, no. But I don't even know if I should go down this rabbit hole.
What?
I mean, I don't go anymore, but I was a lodge member for a while.
Wow.
Absolutely. But lodges are different depending on where you are in the country. And I had a good place, which I thought suited me, and I just don't do it anymore.
Did you
I
get
just don't.
did you get the third degree?
I did not.
Okay.
No, I was always so busy, I was always so busy. But from Switzerland, where'd the Switzerland thing come
Because we
in?
were talking to Leo Zagami the other night about the Jesuits.
Okay.
We had a big night on the Jesuits on I don't know, Tuesday or whenever it was, and it was interesting. And Switzerland came up, and either way, I'm glad we ended with that one. We have so much more to talk about. I can't wait to do not politics with you. It's going to be great.
I try, Frank, to tell people that I just don't like the bad press or like the broad brush. I think that the Brotherhood gets, all right, that the fraternal order, we'll call it that, gets, because there are some bad apples out there. They're not all bad apples, is my point. I'm just getting too old to want to sift through which one's which anymore.
No, I get you. Well, listen, I appreciate you. Thank Laura for everything, and thank you for the time tonight. It's
course,
great for you to fill in on a Thursday. I can't wait to put you on more nights throughout the summer and stuff, and we'll talk soon. But this has been great catching up. Wonderful roundups on everything from geopolitics to what's going on here at home, and I wish you well. Your locals link is in the description of the episode, and I hope people go out and support your work.
I appreciate that, Frank. Yeah, looking forward to coming back, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
All
Hopefully
right.
there's no political bombs that get dropped on us so we can have a different kind of conversation.
No, I'm sure everything's going to be smooth sailing from here on out.
Oh, yeah. It's just total. No waves. No turbulence.
All right, brother. Have a good night.
See you soon, brother.
There you
Bye,
go.
guys.
Take care. Rich Baris. Okay. So listen, everybody, here's what we got. Now we have a couple of minutes before I've got let me see here. Coming right up, we're going to be looking into Pope Leo the 14th a little bit, including a comment from Leo Zagami and a call with Timothy Gordon. That's going to be coming in very soon. But first, a few brief words from tonight's sponsors. And again, thank you, Badlands, for syndicating us on a Thursday night. And now, the perfect time to secure your home, your loved ones. Get free ADT Smart Home Security valued at $1,200 from ADT, authorized provider, Safe Streets. Plus, get a Google Nest doorbell camera at no cost and $200 Visa gift card from the Safe Streets, the most trusted name in home security with more than 106,000 4.9 star reviews. It's always that 0.1, damn it. Visit getsafestreets.com/Badlands or call 925-529-6541. That's 925-529-6541. 925-529-6541 to speak to a representative today. $99 customer installation charge. And that's it. Get Safe Street so you don't get murdered. You don't want to get murdered, do you? Anyway, okay. With that, we will be back in a flash. I just have to. I got one more to do here, and then I have to get. Timothy Gordon on the line. So, give me a moment. We'll be right back.
Birds Aren't Real movement. He joins us now. Good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
So, are there people that find your account and think that it's real?
You know, I think there's a lot of people that find our social media accounts and see a different side of Gen Z in America. You know, Gen Z is full of some amazing men, women, and children that are aiming for change. And I think that is, you know, just what our movement's all about.
But it's more than just Gen Z's falling for conspiracy theories. Why?
Oh, my God. I'm so nervous. I'm so sorry.
Well, we hope you're okay. Why don't we give you some time to collect yourself? If you need help, let us know in the control room there, and we'll get back to you if we can.
By now, you've probably seen the new collab between Rise and Badlands Media, but I'll tell you what you haven't seen yet. The end of Clown World as we know it. But have no fear. Introducing the latest addition to the Badlands INTL lineup, the sequel to the best-selling Psy War series. We've been conditioned by these clowns to accept their circus. But it's time to unwind that and strike them out the history books. The future belongs to the real, and we've got it in droves. Go to badlandsmedia.tv/rise for the full line of premium and direct-to-garment streetwear. Made to order right here in the good old US of A, the heart of the resistance. The fall of Clown World is upon us, patriots. Let's make it official.
Blah. Hello, everybody. Okay, we are back. We're back on a Thursday night. It's 8:42 p.m. and yeah, we started a little bit late, so we're just gonna be cruising over here. And I am bringing in with us right now my good buddy. It's been a little while, actually not too long. I feel like it's just a couple of weeks ago that we had Timothy Gordon join us. Rules for Retrogrades, TimothyJGordon.com. Tim, how you feeling tonight?
Tired, Frank. This will be a 5+ hour day of podcasting for me. How are you, brother?
Isn't it? Well, listen, this is almost, I mean, you got to be ready to do some heavy lifting on a day like today.
That's right. So yeah, ready. Here I am reporting for duty.
There's a lot of different, I always knew there was going to be a mixed bag. Doesn't matter what. And for all the same reasons why, whoever likes one thing, somebody else is going to think it's the end of the world, and then there's going to be people in the middle. There's people who are indifferent, pie in the sky. I don't know, but when we talk about the pontificate of Francis, then we think about, you have laid it out for us all throughout the last however many years that we've been talking. Court stacking. That's how we are able to gauge what kind of a fair trial you're going to be able to get in the United States in one district or another. We understand how politics works. I mean, the Vatican is a government just like anything else. So we were wondering how good could it be coming from this College of Cardinals? And what do you think about today? Just give us the skinny, because I have a bunch of stuff to throw at you.
It's terrible. I predicted it would be terrible. I gave the broad categories for this. Luckily, I woke up this morning after the third scrutiny. I'm not an early to bed, early to rise guy. We go to bed really late.
Yes,
and
you do.
I woke up at 6:30 to check on the third scrutiny, and I went back to bed at 9. I didn't think we would get a day 2 white smoke after scrutiny 4 or 5, but I did say after the third scrutiny this morning, look, here's how it's going to be. It's going to be one of the guys not floated to the world press as papabile. This guy was the prefect for the dicastery of bishops, so he should have been seen. We'll get to that. He will be a Gallen Mafia candidate, but he will not be well known. It will not be one of the lefties that was thrown to the Vegas odds makers or any of ABC, NBC, CBS. And that's precisely what he was. I'm surprised that they didn't fidget with it and pretend that they're deliberating hard, like a jury hard at work for a longer time. 4 ballots or scrutinies in 2 days ties over the last 85 years for the quickest, ties the 2005 Benedict XVI conclave and the 1978 JP1 conclave, who was assassinated by the mob. This guy is, as you all know, Robert Prevost, the prefect for the dicastery of bishops. At this point, he took the pontifical name Leo XIV, and he was the Gallen group man of choice. I just sent you a video, Frank, 14 minutes. The new Pope's brother sang the quiet part out loud that he knew a day or two afterwards that his brother had been canvassed for and was in the final 3 a day or two after Pope Francis died.
How long is this this video?
14 seconds.
Oh, hold on a second. Maybe I can. I think I can. I might be
It's
able.
big.
I'm able to link this up with my. I think I can link this up with my thing over here. Bluetooth. Where's the Roadcaster? Here we go. Second. Hopefully this works. All right. Let's see here. I'm just going to play it from your text.
But when I heard he was in a group of 3, then I thought, well, this could happen.
When did you hear that part, and when did you know that he was maybe one of the finalists?
Maybe like a day or 2 after the Pope died, and they were talking about who.
That's huge. That's huge. That's illegal. That's canvassing. That's what we've talked about with Austin Ivory and the papal biographer.
So what what his brother just admitted to is that he knew he was in top 3 only a day or so after the Pope died.
Right. Almost 2 weeks ago, when they were still giving out this fake list of papabilissimi to the world press, he was notified. And Austin Ivory, I'll bet you, knew it too. The same guy that spilled the beans on Pope Francis.
But let me ask you: do you think that's never that's never been maybe just? I mean, so much about the conclave is secret to the world. They lock themselves in, and I'm sure that over the years you probably know a lot about the process. But you think that normal order, the college doesn't know who's kind of a front runner or something like that? But what you're saying is that the fact that somebody on the outside of all this is the brother of someone. The fact that was known, or that the candidacy was known, that is out of the ordinary?
Yes. What I'm saying at the very least is it proves that the cardinals were feeding false papabile lists to the world's press for the last 2 weeks. A little bit more ambitious, it means that they're violating this new rule set in place in 1996. A new rule was set in a papal document called Universi Dominici Egregius, paragraph 81 by Pope John Paul II, that there's an excommunication which imposes itself, late sententiae, upon any canvassers before the conclave. So maybe they did this in the medieval church, but there wasn't this rule set that did affect the 2005 and 2013 conclaves, which ultimately gave us Pope Francis. And a little bit more meaningful, I'll tell you this much. When you combine those two facts with the fact that we now know the 2 kingmakers at conclave were Cardinals Oscar Maradiaga, who gave us Francis with the Gallen group. He wasn't in the Gallen group, but he worked with the Gallen group to give us Francis. And Cardinal Supich, the American Church, who was elevated to a cardinal by Cardinal Maradiaga, who was the right-hand man of Francis, whispering to Francis, you need to make this lefty Chicago bishop a cardinal. Supich, together with his kingmaker Maradiaga, are the 2 guys that really stumped for Leo XIV, Robert Prevost, and we know he's going to be Francis Part 2. Also, Father James Martin S.J. is a huge fan of this guy. So we know what we need to know, and it means a lot.
Okay, let me get to a little bit more reaction that came out. A friend of yours, an acquaintance of mine, Michael Knowles, this is what he said. Hold on, let me get this up on the screen. He says, this is the part that non-Catholics sometimes miss. Somebody said Pope Leo the 14th is more conservative than most of the MAGA influencers criticizing him. But Michael Knowles retweeted that and said, this is the part that non-Catholics sometimes miss. The left-right political paradigm does not map neatly onto an institution that predates that predates it by 1,800 years. The most liberal Catholic prelate is substantially to the right of most conservative Republicans on most issues. And then I liked and bookmarked that, so I had it for here. And also I bookmarked one comment there that I wanted to throw out there so you can comment on it all. This guy named Nick said, I'd rather the Pope be wrong on immigration and climate change and right on abortion, gay marriage, adoption, IVF, than the other way around. What do you say about all that?
I agree with what Nick said, but I love Michael Knowles. He's not only a good commentator, but a good man and a good friend. And I was texting with him just about 15 minutes ago. But and our mutual friend George Farmer, who was doing my man on the street for the coverage yesterday. But I strongly disagree with him. That left-right does not map onto the cardinalate or the episcopate within the Catholic Church. That's not right. Here, let me reconfigure it. So a mafia group of lavenders, gay guys who are cardinals, run the church, and have run the church over the last 100 years or so. These lavender cardinals do not care about abortion. They do not care about pushing back on the church's bimillennial tradition on abortion because they're gay mans. So they don't care about that. So they don't care about gender ideology. They're not trannies. They're gay mans. So those two issues are out the door. And it's true. You're never going to see Francis, if he lived 10 more years, pushing back hard on abortion or gender ideology. So get that out of your head. So anything he says that's based about abortion or gender ideology just means that it does not run foul of the Lavender Mafia, which has run the church over the last 70 years. So you have to understand that. But the issues which do map on very nicely to the typical left-right paradigm are the issues of contraception. Humanae Vitae might be re-envisioned under a Francis I or now a Francis II pontificate. Contraception does. Divorce. Was the issue of the first 6 years of Francis. Divorce and remarriage specifically. That maps on very perfectly to the left-right issue. Gay civil unions. This is a perfect mapping on. So once we cross out those other two issues that the Pope-splainers out there are always so proud about, neither Francis I or this guy who's called Leo the 14th, but really is just Francis II. Once we cross off those two issues of gender ideology and abortion, which are not cared about by the lavender ideology, then I can make this case very strongly. They do map onto the left-right continuum very much. Oh, I just found this. And an old tweet during the 2020 BLM riots. He's very woke on race. And this is a new extremist left-right issue that he's very left on, the new Pope. He's very anti-death penalty. So I love Michael Knowles. We'll be texting maybe even while I'm on with you. I've had a very busy day, but it's just not true to say this. It's only not true about those two issues.
And so would you say that the picking of Leo the 14th is in and of itself almost like a psyop? Because I know that Leo the 13th was very, he was pushed back hard against socialism. I actually have a really that very famous video of him over here. Of course, he was the first person, I believe, or the earliest born person ever captured on film. And so a lot of people hear that and they think, oh, well, if he venerates Leo the 13th and he wants to continue that on, then it almost feels like whenever there is a Supreme Court nominee that comes up that was like a clerk for Antonin Scalia, everybody thinks that there's going to be something good there, and then we get Amy Coney Barrett.
Here's what they figured out. So he was, I can almost guarantee he was the selection from months back, maybe years back, when they knew Francis has been sick for years. He had resections of his colon 2 years ago. They thought he might die over the last 2 years. So I can almost guarantee he was the Gawlin selection then. The Gawlin Mafia group is very shrewd. Uncle Ted McCarrick, evil cardinal that Francis enabled, got into a sex abuse scandal thing in the middle part of Francis's pontificate, gave a talk at Villanova University right after Francis was elected in late 2013. And he said, I was the kingmaker from Francis. Give him 5 years and he can remake the whole church. Me and this Italian mystery gentleman, who we think is Achille Silvestrini, one of the Gawlin Mafia.
From Windswept House.
He thought 5 years would be enough. This was always a shock to Francis and the Gawlin backers of the Francis that the American right-wing Catholics, kind of like me, pushed back so hard. So they figured they needed an American. They figured they needed an American who might be friendly to the traditional liturgy, which they're saying Leo XIV is. And Leo XIV picked this name and wore some of the more traditional garb, Frank, to throw everyone off, to buy time. Also, the liberals in the 90s and early 2000s used to say that Rerum Novarum, Leo XIII's birthplace of social encyclicals, stood for leftist causes. It doesn't. But that explains, I think, the choice.
Okay. Now, so obviously there's so much more to learn, and now we're just in it. And as a world, as a globe, we're going to be just watching how this plays out. And as I had said multiple times over the last couple of days, this is of great importance to everybody, whether you are, you're Catholic or not, because there is a very big geopolitical play that is being made constantly with the merging of church with international superstates and everything. This whole idea of pluralism and all that. I mean, you just mentioned Silvestrini. That is one of those main characters inside of Windswept House that you and I read together. So there's a lot there. I would say, is there anything here that you are reserving judgment on, or you just pray to be pleasantly surprised on, or anything that you think you can work with as a pretty influential voice in now what is a reversion toward traditional Catholicism in the young around the country?
I think the only boons or feathers in the cap that he might offer to traditionalists will be essentially ops. There have been a lot of younger Zoomer Catholics who are not trads, but they were faithful, who entered the church under Francis. I call them Pope-splainers. They were not trads, but they're already kind of into the model of aggregated power stood for by Francis's Peronist sort of monarchism, from the Juan Perón regime of Argentina. They like that because they like this sort of big government conservatism. Well, I think they're going to keep their coalition that'll be friendly to this guy, the kind of America First crowd. And I think this shrewd Sankt Gawlin Mafia move to nominate an American who might do something like repeal Traditionis Custodes as a fake boon, I think they're just going to add a coalition of the one-note song type trads. I mean, I'm a trad, but I care about doctrine in addition to the TLM, the traditional Latin Mass. I think if he does something as a boon to undo Francis's institutional hostility to the traditional Latin Mass, I think he's going to buy 1, 2, 3 years of goodwill of traditional Latin Massers like myself who don't see that it's an op. So I'm always, I'm a papist, ride or die. I believe in the pontificate, but we've had lots of bad ones. This is Francis II. This is the guy that removed one of the few good American bishops, Bishop Strickland. This is the guy that removed him because he was the prefect for the dicastery of bishops. His brother said he's basically Francis II, and his brother, the same one you heard say he somehow illegally knew he was a finalist a day after Francis died. And there's not, I don't have any realistic hope that he's going to be some sort of conservative pope. No.
Okay. Well, we're going to just keep our thumb on the pulse here. And I just well, you and I will talk as we always do. While we wrap this one up tonight, because I just wanted to get I know you've been working your ass off all day, so I just wanted to have a little bit of a correspondence hit with you. But I do want to look at this video now because I picked it up for tonight. This was, again, Pope Leo the 13th, born 1810. Now, just for everybody to think about this, okay? Earliest born person ever captured on film in 1896. When this guy was 16 years old when Jefferson and Adams died. I mean, just think about that, man. He was 16 when Jefferson and Adams died on 4th of July in 1826. I mean, that's just incredible. Wow. And it just goes to show how, how quickly you think it's a long time ago, but you're only a couple of people away from the 1700s. And it's wow. Yeah. You ever go through all this, any of this old footage and just make it part of your reflections? Cause I think it's really, I don't know. It's humbling to see this stuff.
No, you're the one that told me that he's the earliest born guy to be captured on film. And he's my favorite Pope Leo the 13th, by the way. I just saw that video coincidentally earlier because Matt Scow, the director, one of the two directors, along with Nick Stumphauser of The Greatest Reset, sent me 4 of my minutes in it today. And he's like, Tim, this is really relevant again. And it had that Leo the 13th footage, when we're talking about the St. Gallen group. So you're always the one. You're the one that taught me that. I didn't know Leo the 13th was the OG of film.
Yeah, he's out there. Just like Andrew Jackson is one of the earliest to be photographed, and I mean, there's a lot. It's interesting stuff. I really love it. I love it all. And then the other thing I was looking at, obviously way before our time as well. Well, I don't know, 1978. Were you born in 78? 79?
No, I'm 81.
You're 80. Okay. I think okay. So I didn't know if it was 79, 80 or around there, but still I went back to just take a look at John Paul II. I wanted to watch this now because I just love the quality of the film.
But
this is CBS.
White. When Senior Cardinal Deacon Pericle Felici announced the name of the new pope, most of those in the square couldn't quite catch it. They had been listening for names like Papalardo or Ursi, Pignedoli or Colombo. This name didn't even sound Italian. Karol Wojtyła of Poland, the first non-Italian pope in more than 4.5.
Look at that shot. I don't know what it is about just, obviously it's the quality of film, but it's also the quality of the lights in the square. It just looks like a cozy ass crowd to be lost in that night, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Damn.
Right off the heels of a 33-day JP1 pontificate, too.
Did you and I ever talk about the assassination and all the conspiracy behind it, just the whole Godfather 3 atmosphere of it?
We did. We should revisit it soon. You should come on my channel and we should do that. We should do one on each of our channels on the JP1 thing.
Yeah, I would like to.
I think Pio Ponto, the list of Freemasons in the Cardinalate that he was allegedly going to release. Maybe.
Yeah, and wasn't there a little bit something else there on what was it? It was on the dealing of the Vatican Bank was a part of that too, no?
Yeah, it was. And the mafia, there's a mafia guy currently alive, incarcerated, who claims that he was in on that. I mean, he doesn't seem crazy or anything. I forget his name. I think we dealt with him. We talked about him.
Let me see.
Not like dealt with him.
We got dealt with him. Let me see here.
He got dealt with.
He got dealt with. His name. It was a couple of years ago. He wrote a book. I feel like he wrote a book just maybe around 2019.
Yeah.
Let's see.
That sounds right.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll figure it out. But all right. Anything else you want to leave us with? Anything that people should you believe people should know? And or whatever, man. I appreciate the time.
I mean, personnel is more than policy; it's destiny. Francis held 10 consistories. That's where he gets people together and makes new cardinals. 10 consistories in 12 years. That's huge. That's more than any other modern pope. So it's just court packing. I went through and on my show and on others, I just read how many the last 7 or 8 pontificates had held. Consistories is where a pope makes cardinals. Conclaves are where the cardinals make pope. One hand washes the other. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you have 10 consistories in 12 years, more than JP2, who had a 27-year-long pontificate, he only had 9. Francis just packed the courts, and there was no way that we come away with a non-Sankt Gallen pope. That's how I'm so confident. I went through all of the last popes, and none of them have this many cardinals per consistory per year of the pontificate, if you have those 2 divisors.
You see, now, if I take a step back and I take a listen to what you just said, and I'm just trying to put a motive to all this stuff, is it really that? Could it really just be that this is something that Francis, as an individual, felt so strongly on, that for the first 2,000 years of the church history, there was something lacking that he needed to accelerate into another direction? Or is he working on behalf of somebody else? I mean, is this really just one person after another that has a vision and is taking the ball in another direction and hoping they can pass the baton to somebody who's seeing the same thing? Or is this just an organizational figurehead, and the organization being, like we talked about it before, institutional infiltration? It just doesn't sound like this is a guy who's acting on their own accord. It sounds like a guy who has orders, and because he's moving so frantic. When you talk about that kind of court stacking, it seems frantic. I mean, why? When so much time has passed from the days that Jesus walked the earth and this all started to right now, why did it have to be accelerated so quick right now? And it always has something to do with what global political forces are also mandating as well. It just seems like everybody's trying to keep up with each other. It just doesn't, I don't know.
This is why the left-right paradigm absolutely maps on to ecclesial politics. We had the Alta Vendita, basically gave us the Sankt Gallen Mafia, and the proof is in the pudding, Frank. One of the good guys inside the cardinalate, he's over 80 now, but one of the 4 dubia cardinals who opposed Francis, Cardinal Walter Brandmuller, one of the very few good Germans, said in 2014, in the second year of the Francis pontificate, this is the Sankt Gallen agenda: communion for the divorced and civilly remarried, then viri probati, married priests, then women deacons, then intercommunion with Lutherans. I can explain to a secular audience, if I had more time, why that's all bad and anti-Catholic, but he called out the order, and Francis followed that order almost exactly. Now, he wasn't able to accomplish it because he got so much pushback from the American right wing. But the fact of the matter is, Cardinal Casper, one of the Gallen members who's still alive today, one of the Germans, was attempting to do agenda item number 1, finally completed under Francis in 2016, April of 2016, with Francis's document called Amoris Laetitia. He was trying to do that at a synod as early as 1982 or 83 under John Paul II. John Paul II said no. They're like, we'll wait until we get our Gallen guy. They forced Benedict, this from Windswept House, to retire. It seems to have been some deal they effected. And then everyone, the good guys and the bad guys, knew they were going to go through the Gallen agenda items, and they got it, whatever that was, 34 years later, got it done in the first item anyway, communion for the divorced and civilly remarried, 34 years later in Amoris Laetitia. And Francis was proceeding on to the other items, but they were legitimately surprised that the American traditionalists, like yours truly, pushed back so hard. Now they've corrected for inflation, if you will, and they're like, let's get an American who's rumored to he's woke. He's Francis too, but he doesn't hate the TLM as much. We're going to throw him off their guard. And, he won't just wear the plain white out on the loggia like Francis. He'll wear the traditional garments. They just corrected, and it seems to be working. A bunch of my fellow trads seem to be falling for it.
All right. Well, before you go, here's I found it. Meet the mobster who claims he helped whack Pope John Paul I over stock fraud. The guy's name is Anthony Raimondi.
That's it, Raimondi.
Yeah, that's it. That's the shocking claim from longtime Colombo gangster who says in 1978 he went to Italy with a team of hitmen who whacked John Paul I. They allegedly poisoned him with cyanide just 33 days into the pontiff's reign, according to Raimondi's new book, When the Bullet Hits the Bone, out now. That was back in 2019. So we got to talk about it. And it's crazy because in Godfather 3, they can't, what's it? I forget the bishop's name. They didn't actually go for the Pope. But
I forget.
Yeah.
I forget his name.
Yeah, but
I haven't even seen it all the way through, but I remember we talked about the bishop's name. It's kind of like the faction list of key figure names. We should read When the Bullet Hits the Bone together. I've always wanted to read it, and I always forget the name of the book.
I'd be fine with that, no doubt. Again, you know the other thing there too, I would love for somebody to take up a kind of like a windswept house story, and also this part of the storytelling behind, you know, this end of Godfather 3, and kind of bring it all together, but now bring it up to speed in modern day, where you missed the boat with JP2, you put the squeeze on Benedict, and then you get this going on, but to also bring in a fictional narrative, almost along the in the same vein as that other book, Father Elijah, that you told me to read. If you can get some really good writing to bring a fictional part to the facts right up to 2025 and make it like, because I'll tell you, those books right there are edge of your seat kind of reading, and to know that it's real because you're living in the world 30 years down the road and you have all of the evidence that it was real. If that were produced honestly, I think that would make for fantastic, really awesome miniseries and all that stuff. But the only thing that ever comes out is like HBO quality stuff, the Two Popes, the Conclave. It's always handled by people who can care less and actually want to paint all this in the worst light possible. And to be honest, there's not a good light to paint what is going on behind the scenes over the course of the last 100 or so years, especially. But it's like, who's going to tell the story, and what is the apologetic narrative going to be? That's really, I think this would make for some great miniseries if somebody could pick it up and do it honestly.
Well, unlike you and I, the only note that HBO misses is that the church, the church actually is the truth, and it's got the bullseye painted on its back because it offers the truth. But yeah, it's true. There's tons of pedos in the cardinalate and the episcopate. They were emplaced there by the permanent instruction of the Alta Vendita. The popes at the end of the 19th century, like Leo XIII, like Pius IX, like Pius X, like Gregory XVI, were all saying we have Masonic, pedo, homo guys that are being emplaced into seminaries now in order to taint the water supply and eventually change the doctrine. We know that you don't have to defend Roman Catholicism by saying, no, that's not true, like the normies think. That is true. We know the whole story. Even Stalin was doing this with Bella Dodd. So we should write that story, Frank. But you're absolutely right. Did you ever read Father Elijah?
Absolutely. Father, you told me you got to read this. I read Father Elijah in February of 2022, and I loved it so much. I wanted something just like it. And that's when I realized, you know what? I always wanted to read Windswept House. And that's when I got in touch with you, and I said, hey, I think I'm going to start a book club. And then we started doing that in March of 2022, and that brought us right until August because it was so long, but it was so worth it. But yeah, all right. Well, that's it for tonight. What's your streaming schedule like tomorrow? Because I'm sure that you're going to just ride this wave. Where should people find you? Just on the YouTube?
Yeah, just on the YouTube. I mean, my Twitter handle is @Timotheology, TIMOTHEEOLOGY, and then just search for me, regular spelling of Timothy Gordon on YouTube. I'll be streaming around lunchtime tomorrow. The Pope has his first mass with the Cardinals tomorrow. It's just weird. It's Vox Clamantis in Deserto. I'm a voice crying out in the wilderness because he seems to have been granted already via his boons a kind of pass by the other trads. So now I feel just all alone.
The Cardinals tomorrow in the wilderness.
What is that? Your phone?
Yeah, my phone's won't STFU. I'm trying to talk and she won't shut up.
Well, there you go. Timothy Gordon at Rules for Retrogrades on YouTube. There it is right there. TimothyJGordon.com, and then also on Twitter. It's Timotheology, TheeOlogy. Tim, thanks for everything. Tell Steph, send Steph my love, and also the kids, and I will talk to you soon, man.
You too, brother, to Lauren as well.
Okay.
Love you, man. Peace.
All right. Much love, be well, and wow, it's historic times, man. It's historic for all. Okay, it's 9:14, and you know what, you guys, I'll take some calls. I'll take one or two calls if you want to call in. Let's do that. 914-200-0269. It's 9:14. We started at 7:30. Might as well go for 15 more minutes to make it a full 2 hours. John Harold from Badlands says, Frank, don't worry about spilling over. Just get the full 2 hours in. So that's what we're doing. If you're wherever you're watching right now, please, on Badlands, on the Quite Frankly Rumble, on our website, Pilled, wherever you are, like the show, give it a thumbs up. If you're watching this after the fact, please leave a comment. Comment is huge. Comment wherever the hell you're watching this, but like the show. That millisecond of support shown, it means the world to small operations like myself. And yeah, thank you so much. All right, 914-200-0269. While you guys are calling in, I'm going to get to your super chats. First one up on the Rumble is Gamester, says from Chicago, the Pope. I knew you were going with that one. Jay Semo says, great conversation with Timothy. I missed Rich, but I'll listen tomorrow. Thank you. Rich was fantastic as always. Gonna Fish is now a new monthly supporter on Rumble. I got to see how this whole locals things worked out. I don't know. We can figure it out. Let me go check on the Badlands Rumble. There's a lot of lively people in the chat room over there. No Rumble rants to speak of, but we will go over to YouTube now. Where the hell are we at? We've got Hello Kitty SKS in the chat. Thank you so much for that, Kitty. And on quitefrankly.tv, we'll go check those gold pills out, see what people are saying. Give everybody a few more minutes here. The Sentinel, thank you so much. Crown Weaver says, dem numbers got to go up in scratches. Bring it on, Frankly's. The instigating again. Thank you, Crown. C. Blanche, The Sentinel. Again, we always enjoy Rich's contributions to the show. Great chemistry back and forth. Look forward to his return. Great show, Frank. Thank you, Sentinel. And give my best to Molly Arty. And Crown Weaver, no comment. Okay. All right, let's take a call. All right, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Frank, first off, I want to tell you, you are kicking whatever we want to call the original TV media's ass. Between Leo Zagami and Rich Baris tonight, you're nailing it. And they're nailing it. I mean, amazing fucking guests.
I'm glad you liked it. Speaking of Leo, stay right there, Vincent. 1 second. Listen to this, because I got in touch with Leo. Thank you for bringing it up. You just helped me produce a show. I contacted Leo as soon as this American comes out, and I said, what? No African, no Chinese? We're supposed to get Chinese Filipino. So I got in touch with Leo. I said, hey man, no Africa, no Chinese. What are your thoughts on what we got? He got in touch with me and he said, we got a woke anti-Pope American who covered for pedophiles during his time as a provincial superior of the Augustinians. Seems almost worse to me, who worked hand in hand with the Jesuits in South America. Will write an article on the coming hours. I'm pissed off that he's an American and he chose my name. That's what Leo Zagami said. He's mad that he chose his name. And then he did publish an article, a very short one, on leozagami.com not too long afterwards that puts out his initial profile of the new guy. So thank you for reminding me.
I've been vacillating between like my Catholic upbringing. I never met a priest who wasn't a father, a role model, somebody that really cared. I worshiped that mass, and we took it seriously here in my little town here in New York. But Rich Baris brought it up tonight, and I really don't even want to bring it up because it's such a horror. Understanding the money that came from the government to Catholic charities to put these poor people on a 1,000-mile death fucking march during the open border insanity. I mean, it makes me weep in my heart.
There's nothing else to do. I mean, but weep. It's a horrible story.
It's completely insane. And watching this. I mean, you can understand Protestantism now. But you know what? It comes down to, I'm going to be very rational here. I'm glad you took my call. You're kicking ass, bro. I mean, literally, you watch the endless news cycle about the Pope. It's like a soccer match for these people. Like you people don't go to church. You don't care. I mean, and now we're all worried about who the next Pope is. It's completely insane.
Well,
you're doing great coverage. You're doing great coverage.
Well, thanks for the call, sir. It's good to hear from you. That's Vincent from upstate. Well, yeah, I mean, there's a spectacle to it. That's why I said I wish that I was in a position, and you know what? This one's 70 years old. If I can lead a healthy life, I'm sure that at some point, if all goes well, naturally well, I will be able to see at least one more Pope. And at that time, I would love to have some sort of a travel budget for this show built up so that, hey, we can get ourselves on a plane and get out and be in Vatican City for something like that and create content and just be there and see things I haven't seen before. So I understand the whole spectacle aspect of it. And yes, there are probably plenty of people in St. Peter's Square that have not gone to Mass in God knows how long, but they're showing up for some sort of a soccer style, celebration, or, that combined with trying to see whether or not the groundhog is going to see their shadow or something like that. It's very groundhogish. The presentation of a new Pope is very Groundhog Day-ish. I understand that. It doesn't make me question my faith. It doesn't, I have no problem with Protestants. I have Protestants in my life. I love them. I hope they love me. But this is not one of those things, Catholic Charities and how organizations are used to do terrible things. That means that it has literally, the whole point there is that you take the dead skin mask of an organization, you wear it on your face while you do something that does not reflect any of the people who have really nothing invested except their soul. They give their life to Jesus. And that is what the faith means to them. And they like practicing that faith through tradition of the church and wherever that leads them, whatever denomination, that's what it is. You have terrible people grifting type operations across all denominations. Okay. And for all the bad organizational practices and trends that you can see inside of the Catholic Church, it has held strong where other denominations, many of them Protestant, have just crumbled, as far as, holding back social engineering and in resisting the rainbow deacons and all that other stuff. I mean, come on, it's coming for everything, and there's a reason for it. Okay, so that's where I come from. I look at all this and I lament what's going on, no doubt, and I'm an observer like you all. But the one thing that it just never does for me is make me question my faith, because again, we are men and women on Earth, surrounded by men and women, and God's here too. But there's a lot of white noise, and it's hard for him to cut through the white noise sometimes when the chaos that men and women cause is so great. So that's my personal way of working through it. Obviously, I'm not a theologian. I can't sit here and do anything but tell you except what I'm feeling at the time. It's great hanging out with you guys. It really is. 924. Let's go to, oh shit, what the hell did I just click? All right, 254, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, hello, Frank. How are you?
I'm well. Who's this?
This is Tracy.
Tracy. Good to have you on, Tracy. Go ahead.
Yes. I would like to know, you just had your guest on, Timothy Gordon.
Uh-huh.
And the next time you talk to him, I'd like you to ask him about the days before the Marian apparition at Fatima.
At what at Fatima, you said?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so he's not on right now, so but it sounds like we have an idea for a new talk. So why don't you email me at frank@quitefrankly.tv and give me the question. I'll get it into my notes, and when we get together, I'll definitely put it into the notes for the night.
All right, beautiful. Thank you, Frank.
I mean, because
I love your show.
Otherwise, Tracy, I just don't. I'm pretty sure that I would not have the answer for you. And if he's not here, it doesn't.
Well, Frank, honey, Google it.
Google Fatima.
Yes, the days before the Marian apparition. You can look it up. There are plenty of recalled encounters directly from the nun. Oh, damn it. What's her name? The three children.
Okay.
The eldest nun who died last.
Lucy.
Yes.
Okay.
She had a whole story about I think it was a year and a half before Mary showed up, where they met the angel of peace. He made them take communion and he made them sacrifice.
And what?
And he made them sacrifice.
Sacrifice what?
Oh, well, he didn't say specifically. They sacrificed their lunches. They sacrificed their time. As children, they were given a directive by an angel,
Okay.
Well, what would you do?
Well, I don't know. I honestly, I'd probably, I don't know. I'd be very hard.
No one who wants to talk about Fatima wants to talk about the days before Mary showed up.
Oh, I don't know anybody that doesn't want to talk about it. I've never had a conversation about it, but I'll take a look at it. And like I said, I'll put it into my notes for when we talk to Timothy next, because Fatima is that's very close to my heart. It's very close to in my family history too, because my great grandfather was in Portugal on that day, so it's part of family lore for us.
Actually, the truth of the matter is, I think the prophecy of Fatima saved my life once.
Well, I will. You know what? Can you give me that story too? That would be wonderful. Just email me. I want to hear it all, Tracy.
Absolutely, I will.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for your time, Frank.
Thank you, and I'm glad you got through tonight, because we're about to wind down here. Let me do one more call. 512, you're on the air. Last one's for you.
Hey, Frank, it's Rachel.
Hey, Rachel.
I'm a Protestant, and I do love you.
I love you too.
And I just came from Bible study before I turned your show on tonight. And even at that Bible study, we have different people from different churches who come, and we have very spirited debates about all kinds of things. So I think as long as we're seeking Christ and searching for him, then he's faithful and he shows up for us.
You know what? It's very refreshing for you to say that, because I'll tell you, I never really brought any of that. Because there really wasn't anything to report on for the last, beyond 5 years or so in my life, where I'm just a little bit more agnostic, but also indifferent, and I just try to respect everybody. And I also saw trends in society where certain groups are being 100% targeted and others are being exalted in certain ways. I said, okay. And of course, Christianity is part of a very, very massively targeted group in so many ways. So so for a while, that just wasn't anything that I ever paid attention to. And when I was going to mass back years ago, honestly, I couldn't even tell you. We did the Protestant Reformation. We did the Reformation in grammar school, and I went to Catholic schools, and we learned about it. and we learned about the schism of the East and West, and nothing ever sank in, and we never ever heard about it in mass. Nothing ever came up, and then it wasn't until the last couple of years that I talked about going back to church and working on that whole thing, that I realized how much vitriol there actually is between Catholics and Protestants against Catholics. I started feeling venom, the sting of venom I never thought existed before. I was like, damn, I didn't think I'd get that from other Christians. And that was kind of a downer, to be honest, to see how much infighting there actually is. Cause I never, it never became that kind of a competitive thing for me. So, I take heart when I hear calls like this, and I'm happy people like you are out there.
Well, awesome. And I'm happy that you're out there just telling people that it's okay to be searching and exploring, and that's good.
Yeah. Well, either way, I'm glad you got through tonight. Is there anything else you wanted to tell everybody?
Nope, that's it. Have a great night.
Okay. Well, then with that wonderful call, that's the end of Thursday. It's 9:30 on the dot. And I appreciate you guys hanging out. I really appreciate the time that we've had over there on Badlands as well. Team Smooth on Badlands just said, no rants. Great show, Frank. Love having you with Badlands. Well, guess what, Team Smooth? You just made the whole night worth it. That's it. But for everybody else out there, and wherever you're watching right now live, no matter what you're doing, just like the episode. Share the episode with friends if you found anything interesting in it. And if you're watching this after the fact, leave a comment. It means the world, and it's free. Okay? All right, with that, have yourself a wonderful night. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. And that's all I have. Oh, Jay Britt says, Rich is on point as usual. Another stellar show. Thanks, Frank. Well, thank you. Thank you, Stowstube. And good night.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Okay, Chief, take him away. I'm going to go home and sleep with my wife.